So, hello everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us this morning or this evening, depending on where you're joining from. My name is Asia Duffie, and I serve as a lead faith organizer at Faircount. So, for my fellowship project, I chose ensuring infrastructure and access to broadband internet in rural Georgia. So, the overall goal of this project is to promote equitable and accessible broadband internet in rural counties of Georgia. Also, the objective is to bridge the digital divide in disadvantaged communities by emphasizing the importance of accessible internet and advocating for infrastructure investments. A quick note for everyone, this project is closely tied to the Affordable Connectivity Program. You'll hear me mention it plenty of times as the ACP. And this project also provides data and framework to strengthen the fight for internet equity and digital equity in rural Georgia. Next slide, please. So a brief overview about who we are here at Faircount and the work that we do. So Faircount is a nonpartisan nonprofit organization that builds long-term power in communities that have been historically marginalized and underrepresented in civic functions like the U.S. Senate, census, voting, and redistricting. We were founded in 2019 and we're anchored right here in Georgia. We focus on building long term relationships and using every available civic function as a catalyst for continued civic engagement and fair and accurate representation. Next slide, please. So, jumping on into it, what is the ACP program? The ACP program came into effect in December of 2021 to replace the Emergency Broadband Benefits Program. That program provided support for broadband services and certain devices to help low income households stay connected during the COVID-19 pandemic. For households to sign up for the ACP program, they did have to meet certain criteria, such as household income thresholds that depended upon the household size. Households that received SNAP benefits and Medicaid were also eligible to sign up for the ACP program. Next slide, please. So, why does internet connectivity matter? Internet connectivity is important in rural areas in Georgia because it allows residents to access essential services and resources that are necessary for daily life and economic growth. One key point I like to highlight is education. So, internet connectivity allows access to education and more learning opportunities. With the increasing use of online learning platforms, students in rural areas may struggle to keep up with their peers in more connected areas if they don't have access to reliable or quality internet. So, also healthcare. In rural areas, healthcare facilities are limited. Accessing healthcare services can be a challenge. So, both telehealth and telemedicine rely heavily on internet access for conducting remote medical consultations and providing treatment. So lack of connectivity can create obstacles for residents in rural areas that need timely and quality health care. So what makes it in inequality? So without reliable internet access, rural communities face significant disadvantages compared to urban and suburban areas. This creates an inequity in the distribution of resources and opportunities between different regions within the state. This also can lead to a disparity in educational outcomes and limit the potential for economic advancements for individuals living in those rural areas. Next slide, please. The data. So I chose to highlight the number of ACP subscriptions by state to highlight the usage all over the U.S. and also the Georgia counties. I broke them down by percent of served and unserved, so organizers can get a better idea about the county that they are serving in. And then also the county characteristics. I wrote that down too, so that when we are out here in these counties in the rural Georgia, we'll know more about the areas that we are choosing to serve in. Next slide, please. So shown in this image is the customized dashboard we designed, which allows for filtering by each state in Georgia. It offers insight on healthcare coverage by race, household characteristics such as the median income and households that are enrolled in SNAP benefits. Next slide, please. So this slide, I broke it down by specific counties on a census tract level, because it allows us to highlight targeted specific outreach for the 7 counties that I personally work in. And I chose to break it down like that because it helps us know exactly what areas we should target. Next slide, please. So I also chose in my designs to use the same data for two separate for two separate data products. I chose one as an online dashboard, and I also chose the other one as a Tableau story. So the story allows organizers to have a hard copy printout. So when they are traveling in these areas, if they don't have internet access to access the actual dashboard, they could be able to have a hard copy print of the story. So my end users are organizers and local community leaders. And as far as like the ongoing use of this dashboard and the Tableau story, we do plan to implement throughout Fair Count for organizers. Next slide, please. And my key takeaways from this project was that stronger communities are built with reliable and quality internet connectivity. And also, when taking a look at data, learning who is included or excluded in the data and what is the reason behind it. Because sometimes when data is excluded, it may not be telling the full story or the full narrative behind it.